the thinking hasn't changed much, and as we can see from the results on the ground, the results haven't changed much either. There's a counterinsurgency-related document there, from 2008, the U.S. Army's Unconventional Warfare Guide, and that document's typified by acronyms and a lot of jargon and gibberish on everything from U.S. national power and how it's perceived around the world to some just utterly false statements. One of the most egregious in there, just quote a line from it. The United States avoids resorting to military force, preferring to wield all other instruments of power in pursuit of national objectives. Now, this is quite obviously people from the Philippines, Nicaragua, Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Korea, Vietnam, Cambodia, Laos, Grenada, Panama, Iraq, Afghanistan. I'm forgetting others, but they certainly dispute that assertion. The idea that the U.S. doesn't like to and often doesn't resort to military force, and that's what these manuals peddle: a false version of U.S. history and a sanitized version of war that doesn't bear any relationship to what's actually going on the ground.
Well, I guess it is kind of fun, isn't it, to peek in the mind of what the people with the power tell each other. This is one thing that's been tripping me out lately, actually, is, and I guess I kind of knew this all along, but it's kind of hit me harder since I read The Good Soldiers by David Finkel. And, there was nobody in that entire platoon, including Lieutenant Colonel Kozlarich, who had any idea what in the hell they were doing there, or who they were supposed to be shooting at, or why, or who was on whose side in the war that they were in the middle of, that they were perpetrating. I mean, it was like their orders were the same line of BS in Bush's speech,
Right. Yeah, I mean, this is what you find in a lot of the military documents. They're confused and confusing.
Yeah. Well, and so no wonder they do such a horrible job at even committing acts of violence that they try to commit, It's a disaster.
It is.
All right, so what else did you find in here?
Well, there's an interesting report called the Marine Corps Mid-Range Threat Estimate, 2005 to 2015. And they look back and forward. It's the Marine Corps' Intelligence Global Threats Branch that put this out. And, there's a lot of material on there on how the Marines are evolving and they're adapting, they're developing agile strategies and new tactics for a new complex environment. But the most interesting part of it is an appendix at the end, which lists, as they put it, 20 states of interest that represent, a range of potential future security challenges for the Marine Corps. And basically what it is a list of countries where the Marines think that there's a good chance they'll be deployed, and tells you a little bit about, how they would go about it, what type of, strategies they think would be used there. So, for people who are interested in keeping score over the next 5 years, the Marine Corps report forecasts that, counterterrorism missions by U.S. Marines are possible in places like Albania, Bangladesh, Colombia, Saudi Arabia. And possible is the mid-range on a 3-point scale of likelihood they use. They rate, also as possible counterinsurgency missions in Liberia, Syria, and Uzbekistan. When you look at the things that are rated high on the scale, they list counterterrorism operations in Ethiopia, Georgia, Mauritania, Nigeria, and they list, not surprisingly, Iran and North Korea as places where what they call major regional contingencies might occur, which is to say full-scale wars like that being waged in Afghanistan.
Yeah, wow. Well, and the thing is, it's fun to you can just sit and go forever just speculating about the mindset, the premises of men who would write up a list like that. Albania, Bangladesh, for crying out loud. Imagine counterinsurgency in Saudi Arabia. And you know what? This is the one that you didn't type it this way, but I read it in italics, Nick, and that's Nigeria. America's going to Nigeria.
Well, I mean, the Marines certainly think it's a possibility there. So, I mean, it deserves attention.
Yeah, I when the show first started in the beginning of 2007, I interviewed Sebastian Junger about his piece for Vanity Fair about the conflict there, and I've just kept my eye on that thing ever since, and the problem has certainly not gone away. The interests are still there, and they have a major problem with the locals who are resisting the outright theft of all their resources right out from under their village. At the same time, they pollute the rivers. They can't even fish anymore where they live. And these people got guns, and they're not afraid. And there was even an Army recruitment ad that showed modern-day special forces in a boat in what is that, the Mekong Delta? No. Where are they? Where are they going? And they're in a muddy jungle river headed somewhere to kill people, and it looked like Nigeria to me. And, hey, I mean, I'm just speculating, but somewhere in there, somebody came up with that scene. What are we going to have in this commercial? We want guys in a boat in a jungle looking maybe 2 or 3 years in the future with their just barely futuristic equipment on their way to this war. It looked like Nigeria to me, man.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's, it's part of the Marine Corps forecast there. By 2015, they see it as a possibility.
Man, amazing. And, boy, can you imagine? You talk about a quagmire. It's a giant swamp, man. It's the Niger Delta, for crying out loud. Can you imagine just nothing but a bunch of John Kerrys in their boats killing people up and down those rivers? Man.
Yes, it's a nightmare scenario.
Yeah, well, so, well, tell us a little bit about the form of WikiLeaks, William. What people can find there, the country designations and all the wide and varied states at interest. Of course, some people even say, well, they must be CIA because they have so much about China and other countries that the Americans aren't down with.
Well, that is it is a popular misconception about WikiLeaks. I've read on some right-wing sites where they say that it's simply U.S. government documents there, but as you say, on the other side, people say CIA because there's plenty of foreign government material there, and it's across the spectrum. There's things on China. There's secret Israeli government documents that are there on settlement building. There's Indian Army documents there. You name it, and it's easy to access. I mean. WikiLeaks is divided up by country. You can search by keyword through there. If it is a CIA operation, they have CIA documents there too, which are extremely interesting. There's one on the site that came out this spring about manipulating public opinion in Europe. It's extremely interesting, and
elaborate on that one. That is extremely interesting and extremely important. In fact, that came up in conversation just the other day because I think it's the kind of point that you can sort of jab people with a little bit. So cynical, that thing.
Yeah, it was only a month after the Dutch government fell to anti-war sentiment at home and caused the pullout of Dutch troops that this the CIA analytic team called Red Cell came up with a report which they titled Sustaining West European Support for the NATO-Led Mission in Afghanistan. And basically the document, which was produced in collaboration with an agency public relations specialist and analysts from the State Department, outlined strategies for manipulating public opinion in France and Germany and other allied NATO countries. The report's classified, and not surprisingly, it's not to be shown to foreign nationals. And basically what it does is it highlights the fact that in France and Germany, there's been a great amount of public apathy about the war. So while a large majority of the population is against troop increases, they just haven't been paying attention, and that's allowed the national governments to disregard popular sentiment and steadily increase their troop contributions to the U.S. effort in Afghanistan. And what the CIA says is that there's had a great fear that this summer, with increased NATO casualties and this fall fears about more civilian casualties making into the press, would begin to undermine the war effort. And, they can't be more blatant than the way they put it. They say that the worst case scenario is that as European elections approach, the Dutch troop withdrawal might cause, and this is a quote, politicians elsewhere to cite a precedent for listening to the voters. So this is their great fear, that democracies of Europe will begin listening to the public.
I think it's kind of fun, too, because you're right. I mean, it's just the most cynical thing in the world in plain English, like you just say, unescapable. But also, it's revealing in how two-dimensional and stupid it is, right? Well, all we got to do is tell the French that, oh, boo-hoo, the women, we're going to protect the women. And all we got to do is tell the Germans, stand tall, be a man, and live up to your NATO obligations. And that's how we'll keep it. But, I mean, come on. Like Germany and France aren't nations full of human beings? I mean, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, this is, again, it goes back to this, as you call it, two-dimensional. It's this... thinking that produces military manuals and CIA documents. So it's no surprise that war efforts continue to go so poorly.
It's funny. I always like to think back on the dystopias and how to combine them all together. Like it's a little bit of We the Living and some 1984, and you definitely have lots of Brave New World mixed in here, and Brazil. That's what it's like. It's like the movie Brazil. A war being waged by these just nincompoops, man, Yeah. Robert De Niro, our hero, buried in paperwork.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly what's going on.
Crazy. All right. Well, it's going to come to an end one way or the other. Ron Paul always says, oh, it's not going to come to an end because you listen to me. It's going to come to an end because we're broke. You can only take over the world so much before you run out of steam. And we're just bankrupting ourselves with this complex, with this mentality. And, I guess it's better than the alternative. You look at how the British and the Soviet Union lost their empires. You got to prefer that model to what happened to the Germans and the Japanese. I guess sooner's better than later. Sooner lessens the risk of a war with Russia or some madness.
Yeah, but I mean, in any case, it won't be pretty.
No, it already isn't. It's already a nightmare. Nick, I really appreciate every bit of work that you do. I urge everybody to go and read Nick Turse. Look at his website. He's got links to all his articles there at The Nation, In These Times, of course, Tom Dispatch, the LA Times, The Village Voice, Alternet, and we feature much of what he writes at Antiwar.com. I really look forward to reading your book about Vietnam, something I haven't been reading about lately, but you seem like just the guy to write a book that I'd like to read about it. So let me know when that comes out, would you?
I will, Scott. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you very much for your time.